When you become a parent, you want to make the world a better place for your children. When you see hurt and illness and evil and pain and all the atrocities that too often weave their way through humanity, you want to shield your children from it. But you also know that you can't keep darkness out forever, and children that grow up not knowing what darkness is won't have all the tools they need to survive when they're on their own. When quarantine hit, my wife was 9 months pregnant. We holed up in our house, and our second daughter was born. Sleep became a thing of the past, and somewhere between 3 and 4 in the morning, while getting peed on and changing a soiled diaper, I started to hear the whisper of untold stories bubbling in my mind. I was on an enforced and mandatory writer's retreat. The outside world be damned. My house was a tiny paradise where we played and read and wrote. We were so drunk on love that I didn't want it to end. But then the darkness broke through the cracks, and an old quote from my childhood came to mind. To light a candle is to cast a shadow. George Floyd had been killed. I watched the video on Twitter late at night in a cramped bed that somehow fit my wife, a baby, my eldest daughter, 2 dogs, and of course, me. Everyone was asleep, and I knew everything outside our house was about to change. There was a rage in the air. You couldn't see it, but it made your hair stand on end like an electric pulse. Something unjust and evil had happened. The truth is, the darkness had always been there. Racism and inequality have been part of humanity since we took our first steps, and now we all have to look it in the eye. I heard the names George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, Trayvon Martin, and many others, and I felt ashamed. I felt ashamed because we were so happy, while others outside my little paradise were oppressed. No man is an island. When children are forced to be soldiers, when human trafficking grosses over $150 billion a year, when racism burns like wildfire, even the most innocent of us dies a little. My daughters are young. They didn't create the evil plaguing us all right now. And as much as I want to hide the darkness from them, we all cross paths with evil, no matter how carefully we walk. And shielding children completely from darkness strips them of the weapons they need for survival. I wrote my first novel the year my eldest daughter was born, 7 years ago, and I spotted a pattern. I've done most of my writing around the births of my 2 girls. I think that's because I've always thought that art and my work was one of the best things I could do to make the world better for them, to spark the imagination and open up possibilities. And while this is a noble cause, seeing all the pain the country is in and the injustices that are happening right here in America, the symbol of freedom for the world, I realize that I've been naive. Yes, I can write about fantastic things and help my children dream, but we can't go on sailing on imaginary pirate ships forever. The real world always comes knocking. The simple truth is, a man died. He was killed by the police. He wasn't the first, and I pray he was the last. Sometimes we have to stop, open our eyes, and look at the darkness, for the abyss is deep and dirty, but it's as real as scrambled eggs and taxes. And if no one looks at it, no one will do anything about it, and it will swallow us all up. And for the sake of our children and all future generations, that cannot happen. Evil begins when you start treating people as things, and the road to a better world starts with looking at people as people. What happens to one of us impacts all of us. Maybe I'm a dreamer. Maybe some will say that the hope of a better, brighter world where there is no violence amongst mankind is unrealistic, a fool's errand. But I say, dreams keep us going, and they keep the darkness at bay. And maybe dreams are the best weapons we have to combat evil. So for now, I'll keep on dreaming, and hoping, and writing, and looking at injustices for what they are, and working for a better world for our children. And I don't think it's a fool's errand.